I don't know if you want to move on to a kind of a question that's sort of related to this,
Sure.
though slightly adjacent. But can we drag the effing liberals who are slobbering over the Lincoln Project as the GOP light frauds that they are? And I don't know how consequential this would be as a tactic for the left if they did try to do it. But I think owning the anti-Trump sentiment and cultivating it, I think it's one of the things like we've done over the course of the 4 years is when like people are going to see how terrible this guy is, and they're
Right.
going to want to see somebody comment on it. So you want to be there with your message about this stuff. I guess that's what I have to say. That's what the Lincoln Project is cultivating right now, and they see that he's a loser, I think, and so it costs them very little to they can do this time because they've already got their judges,
Right.
and
That's
Trump's a
exactly
loser.
right.
If
It was a fucking extraordinary. Sorry to interrupt, but because I've been watching a lot more MSNBC type of stuff to tune into the election. Watching Bill Kristol on a panel basically saying like we need to make sure voter suppression doesn't happen so we can beat this guy is just it's like okay. I see. Mr. Put Republicans on courts for decades. The Roberts Court guts the Voting Rights Act in 2013. I think there's a big distinction that needs to be made here. I agree 100% with Matt, and I think that there is a huge liberal contingent that is completely uncomfortable with the fact that Trump won, and it was a repudiation. It was disgusting. It was racist. All this, but it was also a true repudiation of a lot of stuff. And I'm reading this Hard Hat Rebellion book, and I'm telling you, it is a disaster. It's a disaster for all the reasons that Adolph Reed points out, because it's really just a recreation of a different moralized ideology on a different group, which we cannot fall into. We cannot do essentialism on anybody, any group or any individual. Don't essentialize. But it also confuses, it relegates. Yes, there's reactionary sentiment, absolutely. And there's also like, we're getting deindustrialized, losing our standard of living. And there's a new group accelerating, particularly in the Democratic Party, that does look down on us culturally. And that is not all bullshit aggrievement. Some of it is true, it's accurately read, and it's gross. And so that's on the one side. Let's be real about all the variables around Trump, including his personality, when he was funny. Now, I think there's other people, again, it's like they keep listening to the same sort of voicemail. I mean, Trump is fucking terrible, and he's unpopular, and he sucks. And we could, as Matt says, have that very clear analysis as well. And he is a bigot, and he is putting children in cages. And you know what, by the way, immigration is another very important issue. Do most Americans think right now or want or even conceive of some, a slogan like open borders? Of course not. But they do not support vicious racist policies. They don't. Majorities don't. So those are really important things to keep in mind. And then, of course, the economic stuff was a fraud and a con, and he's a vicious oligarch Republican. I think the thing with the Lincoln Project, though, is that one part of me says, don't get too fixated on it, whatever, it's ads, it's fine. It's hurting Trump, sure. But there is a bigger problem is, and Anna Kasparian's really good on this, is like, this is, and this is also another reality check on like the left and the Democratic Party. I mean, leadership of the Democratic Party is more worried about George W. Bush's endorsement than AOC's. I mean, there is a huge amount of leverage and power that people in the Lincoln Project have. And at some point, that is going to translate, and it already does with the Biden foreign policy team. There's not a huge amount of daylight in foreign policy, but it's going to affect even the kind of more modest stuff we were talking about earlier, especially when you couple it with, all of the corporate mega contributors. So it is a problem. It does need to be critiqued, but I think we need to reinvent the terms of the critique, because I think even just like, yes, like a lot of lane liberals like the Lincoln Project, and it's a big MSNBC thing. We all know that, but we're a small amount of people. So how do we extend that critique in a way that's going to be relevant? That's the next question. And I think that is where, you have to attempt to have substantive conversations with people. Like, okay, mom, that's a good ad. Great. But do you know what these folks are looking to do in the next 4 years and what they have done in terms of setting up the context for it?
You just watched a Michael Brooks show video. Subscribe to get them all. Why wouldn't you? Don't be foolish. Click subscribe below and become a patron as well. Patreon.com/TMBS. Thanks, everybody.